There are two sides to every story. The National Broadcasting Company presents the vivid drama of life itself. Broadcasting's original program of mediation, The Court of Human Relations. And now the man who has familiarized millions of people with the idea of mediation, helped to make it a creative force in American life. A.L. Alexander.
Now, it's encouraging when people are willing to recognize that where strong emotions and sensitive feelings are involved, one's sense of logic may be misdirected, and agree to talk over the situation with impartial persons to determine what seems just and reasonable and fair. We welcome the mediators whom these people have elected to serve as their judges in these matters of controversy. Gifted author, highly regarded as a critic of the life and letters of our time, Miss Virginia Peterson. One of the distinguished names in the clergy of this country, a key figure in the Court of Human Relations since its earliest days, from Los Angeles, California, Dr. L. Wendell Fifield. Of skilled and self-reliant judgment, a famed prosecutor and long a justice of the Supreme Court of his native state of New Jersey, Honorable William A. Wachenfeld. Now, Miss Peterson and gentlemen, here is the first of these cases now heard, where the parties in dispute seek an impartial view in order to do away with future unpleasantness. And here is the complainant.
How long must a man be kept on a string by a girl?
Well, now, how long have you known this girl?
Well, I've known her for 15 years.
And how do you feel toward her?
I love her very much. I'm crazy about her.
And what do you want to do?
I want to marry her.
And how have you made out?
Well, I can't get to first base with her.
Yes. And
she won't say yes and she won't say no.
Are you married?
I'm not married. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't gamble. I don't go out with other women. I have only one weakness.
And what is that weakness?
I'm crazy about this girl.
Well, now, what have you done because you're so enthusiastic about this girl?
Well, I worked hard. I saved up my money, put it in the bank so I could have a nest egg, so she can share my happiness.
And when you
marry her.
Yes, and when you talk to her about marriage, what does she say?
I can't get to first base with her. She won't say yes and she won't say no.
Well, now, are you the young lady that's been talked about here?
Yes, I am.
And have you kept company with this man for 15 years?
I have known this man for 15 years, but I would not say that I've kept company with him for that long.
Well, when you came to New York, how old were you?
I was 15 when I came here after being orphaned. I met this man. He was very kind and very good to me, and for that I am really very grateful.
And what's happened since that time?
Well, it was about 5 years later, 10 years ago, that I began keeping company with him.
And how many years would you say you've been friendly with him?
About 10 years.
But you've really been keeping company with him, would you say, sort of sweethearts, for about 5 years?
About
Is that
5
the idea?
years, yes.
Well, haven't you felt that in keeping company with him that you are under any obligation to him?
No, I haven't.
Well, we understand that he's befriended you, that he's given you many gifts.
He has. He's given me many nice gifts. He's given me a watch and necklace, ring, and many other articles of value.
Well, has he given you clothing?
Yes, he's given me dresses, shoes, an imported coat.
Yes, many things.
Lots
And
of other things.
Has he given you money?
Yes, he has.
Yes. Well, now this man feels that after knowing you 15 years, and after being friendly with you for many years, and after being your sweetheart, so to speak, for at least 5 years, that he'd like to know where he stands. He'd like to bring this matter to a head.
I live about 500 miles approximately from here. I have my family, my friends, my roots there. I don't know as to whether or not if I came here and married this man who is 20 years older than myself, that I would even be compatible with him. I've just got to be sure. I've got to be a little more sure than I am.
Has he given you a diamond engagement ring?
Yes, he has.
Do you wear the ring?
Not all the time, no.
Well, when he asks you what you intend to do, as we understand it, he writes you letters, doesn't he, and mentions that he intends to marry you. He's done this for many years, hasn't
Yes,
he?
he does, many times.
And does he introduce you as his fiancée?
Yes.
And does he discuss plans for the future with you?
Yes, he does.
And what do you say?
I ask him to wait a little while longer. I like to think it over a little more.
Well, what is it that makes you so reluctant to make up your mind?
I'm not sure. I know that my religion allows me to marry only once. When I get married, I've got to be very, very certain of it. I don't expect to marry more than once. I've got to be a little more sure than I am, that's all.
Well, now, how do you feel about all this?
Well, figure it out for yourself. 15 years is a long time. I either got to marry her or forget her. I mean, this thing's got to come to showdown.
Yes, and have you saved your money?
I saved my money. I put it away in the bank, and it's available anytime I want it, so I can have a nice home. And I want her to enjoy a little happiness.
Yes. Well, you understand the position of this man. You certainly understand it now. What are your feelings about him?
Well, in my own peculiar way, it may be, but in my own way, I do love him. It's just that, as I said, he is so much older than myself. Supposing I were to marry him, supposing I were to fall in love after I married him, I'm just not sure. I'm very grateful to him for all he's done for me, as I said, but I'm not sure.
Do you feel that you could be loyal to him, that you could be faithful to him?
I don't know.
Miss Peterson?
May I ask this woman a question? Would you be willing to give him up?
If he met someone else and fell in love, yes.
But even if he didn't, how can he fall in love with someone else when he's in love with you?
Well, I don't think I'm ready to give him up yet.
Well, is it fair to keep him so long?
No, I suppose not.
Well, are you prepared to make up your mind one way or the other? In other words,
Yes.
this man says that you don't say yes, that you don't say no, that he's in between, that he's very unhappy about it, and that it's very disturbing to him, and he's brought you here to bring this matter to a head.
I'm prepared to abide by whatever.
You'd like to have his
Mediators, huh?
friendship, and you've enjoyed it for many years, and we can understand that, and he's been your benefactor in many ways, and I'm sure that you've been
He's been very wonderful. He really
and you've been
has.
very nice to him, too.
Well, I hope so.
But he feels that the time has come when he either wants to get married or not. Is that right?
That's correct, yes. That is correct.
Suppose we hear, Miss Peterson, your view.
It seems to me that it's not at all fair to go on hemming and hawing indefinitely, and it also seems to me that if you have not fallen in love with him enough by now to want to marry him, that you probably will not, because I don't think one falls in love after years and years. One may become so devoted to somebody that one settles for that instead of what's called falling in love. But falling in love doesn't suddenly take place after 15 years, in my opinion.
Judge Wachenfeld?
Well, the lady won't say yes, and she won't say no. And so this man might just as well take a practical view of it and decide that the answer is no. And if he wants a definitive answer, I think he can get it more effectively than we can give it to him or anybody else can get it for him. The relationship between these two people is rather an admirable one. If he hopes, the man hopes that by this mediation board that we will persuade the lady to adorn him with her affection and to consent to marriage, he's going about it in the wrong way. He's the only effective person that can persuade her to accept his proposal of marriage.
Well, he hasn't been able to do it in 15 years.
Well, I would suggest then that he take that as a definite answer. and that he just extend himself a bit more and be a little bit more firm in it and tell the lady that she must answer yes or she must answer no.
Well, I think this proceeding has brought it to a head. Dr. Fifield?
I think this is where surgery is necessary. It's rather rough sometimes, but it's necessary. It seems to me that this whole relationship ought to end. That there's been plenty of time for it to have come through into an affection that was so compelling on each side that marriage was inevitable. I can't see there's any possibility of that in the future. This man isn't yet past the age when he could get married, and as long as the young lady is dangling the situation before him, that, of course, prevents him from moving into some other area, and I presume her also. 500 miles from here, there must be some marriageable people. And it's just an impossible thing, it seems to me. And I'd like to say there's one other thing. This man has been very good to you, and I have no doubt that you have been very kind to him. I think the best way for you to show your gratitude is to terminate this whole business. That's the kindest thing you could do to him. It'd hurt. I know it would. As an operation would hurt. But I think that's the only thing for you to do. You, after all these years, haven't yet what it takes in your heart to love him enough to marry him, and you wouldn't be fair to him to marry him under any other circumstances.
Dr. Fifield, do we assume from what you've said that you would not recommend that they remain friends?
Well, you can be friends remotely, but I wouldn't keep up this business that keeps him in an emotional turmoil. And might, for example, if he found some young woman in this area that he became interested in, have the fact of her relationship barging into the situation at all. I just...
Well, Dr. Fifield, whatever may be said, it is clear after all this time, no matter what the reasons, that if any marriage were going to take place, it would have taken place by this time, of course. And the perseverance of the man over so long a period of time was due to many factors, as we understand it, going back to the time that he met this young woman as a very young girl. Now, certainly, as has been indicated, there's no reason why a fine friendship can't exist here if that's what it is. Certainly, you wouldn't recommend that they fail to correspond, and if he's so inclined. But obviously, no marriage is indicated, and now that that's cleared up, perhaps there can be less tension and more peace of mind all around. Without taking sides, I think it's a fair statement that it is obvious that the whole psychology of today's world is to place emphasis on youth and the importance of youth. Look at the covers of magazines that once catered to the whole family. There seems to be a dread these days of being a fuddy-dud, of missing the boat, unless whatever it is that is involved strikes a responsive chord in youth, with emphasis on every side on youth and a little respect, or not too much, evidenced for the dignity and experience of mature years. With such conditioning, there would be little in the way of the shrinking violet about youth these days. Now, the issue here presented is an interesting example of a conflict between parents and today's youth. As we turn to this youthful complainant, I think that she's to be congratulated on her willingness to submit this issue to a board that has the benefit of some experience, and the complainant can be assured of a fair and impartial decision.
Mr. Alexander and members of the board, I'd like to have something settled that is upsetting me terribly and affecting my life.
Now, why are you here?
My parents insist on treating me as though I was a child of 12.
And what is it that they want you to do?
Well, my parents go away, and they want me to come with them on weekends.
And what is it that you want to do?
I want to stay in the city. I work, and that's the only time I have to be with my friends.
Did you tell us your age?
Well, I'll be 18 soon.
Yes, but at present you're 17?
Yes,
And when will you be 18?
August.
Yes. But at present you're 17, is that right? Now, when you say August, do you mean a year from now?
No, this coming August. Oh, it is August.
Well, in any event, you want the keys to the apartment, don't you?
Yes,
Why?
because I want to have my friends over, and I think I should have them if I'm going to be home.
And do you feel that if you're employed during the week, that you have a right to have social life, or is your family interfering with your social life?
Yes, I think so, because I work and I can't go out during the week. And if I go to the country, I won't have any social life at all.
You want to be home in the city and have the keys to the apartment and have a good time weekends when your parents are away.
That's right.
Well, now suppose we hear from the respondent father.
Well, it's the position of myself and my wife, Mr. Alexander, that we feel that a teenage girl still needs adequate supervision, and we've definitely refused to give her the keys to the apartment. It's only a normal course of events that a family does go away for a period of time during the summer, and we have allowed her to work this year, but we still feel that she should come with us over the weekends. Now, I come in during the week, tend to my business, and of course I'm here, and I'm able to supervise her. Now, as Mr. Alexander said, I don't want to appear to be an old fuddy-duddy. I'm not too far past the age of enjoyment myself to not understand her point. But I definitely can't see how a young girl of her age can even request such a thing as to allow more or less open house. I feel that she definitely belongs with her parents at the shore.
Well, I think if I'm going to be trusted, I'm going to be trusted. I mean, I can do the same thing in the daytime as I can in the night. If my father were to go to work at 9 o'clock and I was to be left alone all day, I could do anything I was going to do in the daytime as I could at night.
Do you feel that there's no difference really between the daytime and the weekend so far as your personal behavior is concerned?
No, I don't.
So you want the keys to the apartment?
Yes.
Well, Miss Peterson?
Well, I don't think there is any difference. I think there is a point. She has got a point in saying that she could do the same thing in the morning as at night, of course, but it isn't exactly what you feel about yourself or how much your parents trust you as the general idea that 17 is not very old. And to be given the keys to the apartment, you don't know just how far your friends might go. There's something pretty heady about freedom in New York in summer. All sorts of things might start going. You wouldn't be able to stop. You'd be called a bad sport if you stopped things, and all sorts of things might happen. You yourself might even be embarrassed about or afraid of. I have to take the point of view as a parent. It's tiresome to always be surrounded by grown-up people who don't see things the way you do, I know, and the bridge between the generations is terribly hard to make. But I can't help but see your parents' point of view that 17 is too young to have an apartment in this city for the whole weekend all alone, because not everybody of 17 has as much sense as you may have.
Judge Walkenfeld?
Well, the problem is not too difficult. Should a girl of her age, to wit 17, have the independence of an apartment in the city over which there's no supervision and no control?
What do you mean by it's not too difficult? I don't know what you mean by
I don't think that the problem is too difficult, because it's merely a question of deciding as to whether the parents' views should be abided by or whether this girl's views should be adhered to. And I'm afraid that this girl is just about reaching the age where the conclusion is readily arrived at that their parents don't know as much as they thought first that they did know, and they don't reach very sound conclusions. And yet the record shows that with age comes wisdom, and with age comes knowledge, and they will make fewer mistakes in matrimonial affairs and family affairs than you will make at your tender age. And if they have decided that they don't think that you should have the run of the apartment without supervision, I'm afraid I'll have to support their side and say that they are justified in doing it, not only because you are involved, because that's the general rule and that's the general discipline which is affected. And it's all in a good purpose, hoping for some accomplishments and hoping to keep you from dangers that might otherwise be difficult.
We address the respondent father. It's very interesting here, sir, that you are here in the capacity of a respondent rather than the complainant. Will you tell us a little something about this young woman? Is she inclined, frankly, to jump over the traces? Do you find that when you say, no, you can't have the keys, that always isn't the end of it, and that's why you wanted the impartial judgment of other people, or at least listen to her suggestion that we do this?
Well, Mr. Alexander, we have tried to be most modern with our daughter, realizing certain situations and conditions as they exist. And we have tried to discuss this reasonably and sensibly without any arguments. One thing I hate is an argument. And I have explained to her and told her time and time again why this is impossible.
And have you found that she's somewhat rambunctious, and that's the reason for this mediation?
Definitely so.
Dr. Fifield?
There's an old proverb or saying, it's always safe to avoid the appearance of evil. Not necessarily to be evil, but to avoid the appearance of it, and to play the situation safely. Now, there's a great deal of danger in an apartment in a large city and a young person with the keys to that apartment. Just before I left Los Angeles, there was a case came up similar to this where a group of friends came in and brought marijuana in with them. Now, the girl that had the keys to the apartment didn't believe in that or anything else, but she shared in the responsibility of it. And you can't control, if the word gets around that you've got an apartment and you've got the keys, you're putting yourself in a very serious situation.
Well, I'm very particular about my friends, and I don't think any of my friends would do that. I've known a lot of my friends' parents have gone away, and we've gone over to their houses, and none of that ever happened.
Yeah, but some of your friends tell somebody else, well, you know, so-and-so's got the key to the apartment. There's a good place to put on a big party. And I'm just fearful for you, that's all. I think you would exercise good judgment. You'd want to be the right thing yourself, but it's the attitude of others that would be created toward your being here alone with the keys in an apartment at your age. I think it would be serious for you.
But if it wasn't an apartment, it could be the park, it could be a cellar, it could be anywhere, it could be an alley.
Well, you're working all during the day, and I'm talking about parties of large groups of people. I'm not talking about anything other than that.
But quite apart from that, freedom doesn't come all by itself, just freedom. You don't get freedom without responsibility. And you haven't got responsibility yet. You can't have full responsibility for yourself at 17. You can't support yourself and take care of yourself and assume full responsibility. Your parents still have it. So really, there isn't much question about the fact that you have to toe the line to a certain extent until you can prove that you can assume the responsibilities of an adult. You want all the fun without the responsibility. So do my children, so do all children. But that doesn't mean they should have it.
Well, this board, while understanding the desire of this girl to have fun, is unanimous in its opinion that morally, legally, and every other way, this girl is still under 18 or any arbitrary age. For a 17-year-old girl who still lives with and is responsible to her parents, as has been pointed out, to remain in the city over weekends to socialize is not a reasonable thing to expect or to do, and they hold with the parents in this case. We bring another session of the Court of Human Relations to a close and extend our thanks to our mediators. Some years ago, when one of our great public buildings was nearing completion, the president of a leading university was invited to prepare a set of quotations to be inscribed upon the walls of the foyer in expression of the highest meaning of law, religion, art, philosophy, science, literature, industry, and other central activities of the life of man. Now, this is what he submitted. Many men know the laws of mathematics, are skilled in the sciences and in the arts, but most know very little about the laws governing life, the art of living. One may be able to build an airplane and circle the globe, and yet be entirely ignorant of the simple art of how to be happy, successful, and content. In studying the arts, place first upon the list the art of living.